everyone, I'm Cait from the Center for Rural Affairs, and today I'm having a conversation with Aliza about her experience at her local farmers market and some of the things that she's done to create a welcoming, inclusive, and fun environment at the market where folks and families want to join in and come to their market. So first, I just want to say thanks for taking the time out of your day to have this chat with me.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. So the first thing I thought, can you just talk a little bit about the market, where it's located, and why you got involved?
Yeah, so I help with the West Point Farmers Market here in West Point, Nebraska. It is located behind the West Point Community Theater on Anna Stalp Avenue here in West Point, and it's essentially just a big, nice, open parking lot. We actually started the market last year in 2021. I am a transplant from Lincoln, Nebraska to the West Point community. And one of my favorite things about growing up in Lincoln was the farmers market down in the Haymarket. I love the environment. I love the people. I love the vendors, the music, the kids, the families. I mean, every aspect of it like spoke to my soul growing up, and we would go every Saturday and I just loved it. So when we moved here to West Point, we had a little farmers market with 2 or 3 vendors up on the highway, but it wasn't that full on environment that just gave you a welcoming, good feeling inside when you would walk up to it. And so I wanted that for our community. And the beautiful thing about small communities is it usually only takes someone talking about their dreams and what they'd like to see happen for someone else to jump in and be like, I want that too. So I had gone to Tina at the West Point Chamber office and said, hey, I really would love to see like a big farmers market with lots of vendors and family friendly activities. And Tina just lit up and was like, I've had the same dream for years. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? Let's make this happen. So that's kind of how the larger West Point Farmers Market was born.
Awesome. And what day of the week and what hours is the market?
So we run on Saturday mornings. Our first we go from June about midway through September on Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. We kind of toyed with the time there, but we again wanted to make this really family oriented and wanted to be really inviting to people of all ages, all different walks of life. So we figured 8 a.m. We actually get a lot of our older population coming really early in the morning to come walk around. And then around 9 o'clock, we slowly start to get a trickle of families in. And it's nice because they can come and get all their shopping done before that lunchtime and that nap time hits. So we figured it was a good time for our community to have the market.
Yeah. Before we get in a little bit more to like the things that are happening at the market, which I'm so excited to hear about, what do you think, what was your advice to someone who maybe felt nervous? Like you had a lot of courage to go and just like talk to the chamber about getting this going. So what tips would you have for someone who similarly like wanted to be a market manager, wanted to get involved with their local farmers market?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things to do is I felt confident because I had reached out on my social media platforms to friends and family in our community and said, hey, would this be something that would be interested, like you guys would come to? Would you be interested in doing this? And I got a ton of positive feedback from all of those people. So just going in with that confidence, saying, there's a handful of people that really, really want to see this here in our community. I felt really good about going and asking. My hardest part for me personally, where I lacked the confidence and asking, to going on this venture was, again, I'm a transplant here. So I didn't know all the people. But like I said, when you go to someone like Tina, who works at the chamber, who knows all the ins and outs of the community, has great resources, has all the contacts, just finding that person that really can, I was willing to do the work. I just needed to be pointed in the direction. And she was that person to be able to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. So do you have a team that assists you with like each week getting the market going, or is like it all you? Do you have volunteers?
Yeah. So last year, as far as getting things set up, which really kept things very simple so that it can be a pretty self-sufficient market. There's a few things that have to happen as far as getting a few advertising things done. We do have a local bank here that sponsors us, so we were able to get some flags that we put out to kind of draw people in from the highway down to that parking lot.
Awesome.
So we set up a speaker with music because we do have live music every so often, but we have music going. So it was probably about a half hour to 45 minutes worth of setting up before. And last year it was just Tina and I that would show up really early in the morning to do that. This year, we have been able to keep our vendor costs down by us volunteering for most of this. And we have asked for their help as vendors. Hey, would you mind showing up to the market a half hour early just to help put signs out, get things set up and ready to go. So it's really a group effort this year, so that we have, if for us, if we're gone with family on a vacation or have a wedding that weekend, they kind of know what they're doing. So it is truly a group effort on everyone's part.
Yeah, awesome. So how do you get the word out about this market? How's that working in your community?
So I am a huge fan of social media.
Yeah.
What a great way to do some free advertising.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that we did, is we got a local graphic designer here in town to make us a really awesome logo. And she actually did that for free because she was so passionate about what we were doing.
Awesome.
We popped that up on our social media, made an Instagram and Facebook page, and I just started throwing the posts out there. I am a nurse and I'm a mom of 5 and we live on a farm. Like, I do not have any type of marketing background or anything like business background, no nothing. But I do know that people love to read things that make them feel good. So just to be able to put the event out there on social media, and then I actually did what I call a vendor spotlight. So every day or every other day, I would take a vendor and I would post their logo if they had one on our social media accounts and just kind of say what they did, what they sold, where they're from, and to come see them at the market. That was huge. And then the chamber actually, like I said, we had a local bank here in town that we literally called. Actually, I think I went in person and was like, hey, would you want to, we're going to start this new farmers market. Would you want to throw in some money for some signs and maybe some, newspaper ads and a couple radio ads? And they were like, yes, absolutely. That sounds great. So they put some money in towards that. And then the local radio here likes to do, and most radio stations do like doing this, is doing like a news, they don't charge you for it, but just to do like a news article or a news interview on what you're doing in local community events. And so they actually brought us in and did that. So between the social media, the newspaper, and the radio, we were really able to reach a lot of people.
Awesome. So besides having the vendors and all this awesome advertising that you're doing, and it's amazing, like the group, all the support that you got in your community, and you mentioned music, what other elements have you brought to the market that you think help bring people there?
Yes. So entertainment is huge. We actually had a gal who was local to the area and another man here who both loved to sing. They came in and they would sing for a couple of hours during the markets. And again, I'm not a marketing guru, but I do know that like when you go shopping, like at the mall, which I say mall, that's back when I was younger. I feel like those are kind of dissipating these days, but they always had the music going because they say like the faster paced music, they like to shop. And it wasn't even about that for us so much as it was just like the environment. Again, like when you walk up and you hear that music playing, like you want to be there, or you're curious and you're driving by and you're like, what's going on in that parking lot? So we brought in the music. That was a huge thing. And then on top of that, I talked about in Lincoln growing up, it was always that Haymarket, farmers market down in Lincoln, just families, kids, strollers, dogs. I mean, everyone came to that market on Saturday mornings. And so I wanted to make sure we had some family friendly events, because down there, they didn't really need to bring much in. It was already just a cool area for kids. They had a little train that the kids could play on and a water fountain. I mean, it was already very family friendly, but in a parking lot, we don't really have a whole lot we can work with. So we're very blessed to have a local art studio here in town who volunteered their time on Saturday mornings and would bring in an art project for the kids. One weekend, it was just a bunch of old cardboard boxes and they brought scissors and markers, and then they would do sensory tables. So again, you've got to find those people in the community that are willing to volunteer and show up to make those activities happen. We also, this was actually one of my dreams, but we were able to get a piano donated to the farmers market. And we did what we called kind of a community art jam where, again, the art studio assisted with painting the piano and making it this really cool piece of art. And we're still kind of trying to, knock out some details on that from last year. It did get finished, but we eventually want to have it displayed in our town so that people can just walk up and play whenever they want to.
Nice.
And then phone calls. That was a big thing too. I think I made hundreds of phone calls, and my kids would go. My kids stay home with me. I stay at home with kids during the summer, and the kids would go take a nap, and I would immediately just pull my phone up and just start making all these phone calls. But that's another thing. People get excited about this stuff, so we were able to bring in a tow truck for the kids to come look at, and parents to come check out, a big tow truck. The local auto parts store here in town actually brought in a car and did tire changing demonstrations for kids who were driving, or adults, because some adults don't know how to do that. And like just little basic things like how to check your windshield wiper fluid, or how to check your oil, because our kids here in West Point have those student permits. They start driving when they're 14. So that was a really big aspect for kids to kind of learn those basic skills. So he came in and did that for us. The implement here in town brought a tractor in. The Cumming County Power District brought in one of their big electric, the trucks that they do up. The fire station came and brought a fire truck, the police cruisers, the sheriffs. I mean, it takes time to make these phone calls, but to see those kids and those parents come down there and just be able to run around and explore and learn all these things, it was just awesome. So to be able, and we did kind of something new every weekend. We wanted to have like a new feature. So we kind of got that lined up on a schedule for the summer. And then, like I said, with the social media, we would just kind of put out there who was coming that week, and people would just get really excited and they'd show up on Saturday mornings.
And did you do like a story time also?
Oh yes, story time was huge. So I actually ended up calling the local library as well, and just asking if they would come down for even an hour to read some books to the kids. And they were super excited about it. So we had a rug that we would put out with a chair, and the kids would go sit down, and one of the librarians would come down. And again, you find people in your community that are super passionate about what's going on. And so we actually ended up getting one of the friends of the community to come in, and she started doing a Spanish story hour too. So she would read the book in English and in Spanish to the kids. And it was so cool because we have such this rich culture here, and to be able to pull in all different aspects of that community, all different people who all different languages, was really neat to see.
Yeah. And so would you say that that's amazing. I would be so into that as a parent, and as a person that goes to farmers markets and loves farmers markets. Is your market, both vendors and the folks that are coming, pretty diverse? Like, how are you feeling about that inclusivity piece at your market? And what are maybe some things you're like, we could maybe try these and get better in these ways?
Yeah. So I can pinpoint the day for you. We had gone to our local church here. We had gone that morning, and we have a mass in the morning, and then there's a Spanish speaking mass after the English mass. And they were celebrating the day, the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they were all dressed in there. And I don't know what the costume's name, but they had these beautiful suits on, and they had this beautiful banner. And I just remember thinking, like, I came from Lincoln, so I was exposed to all these awesome cultures and all these things, and my kids were not getting that here. So I just remember thinking, I want that for them. Like, this is so cool just to watch this. So one of the things Tina and I talked about last year when we got together and started dreaming up this farmers market was making sure that we're including all different people from walks of life, including that Hispanic community here in our town, because we know that they're there, but I think that language barrier was what making it challenging to pull those people in. So Tina was actually able to reach out to the Center for Rural Affairs and actually make some connections with some people who were bilingual, and they were super excited. And that was the fun part too. Like, they wanted to come in and they would interpret for us. and they would translate all of our Facebook posts into Spanish as well. And they would translate our flyers that we hung out around the community for us to help us out. And that was just awesome. And so we were actually able to pull in a lot of vendors whose primary language were Spanish, but they were selling all the cool things like empanadas and tamales and all different kinds of things, and able to get their products out there. And so now when we have vendor meetings to talk about the farmers market and what's going on, we have these people that we've found that love to come in and do some translating for us. And so, you know, we're up there talking, and then they're translating in the back to the people who need help with the Spanish. And it is just so cool to watch.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of involve them. And it's all about finding those people in your community that share, you know, that dream that you have and are willing to put the work in to make it happen.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So if you were talking to a new or maybe a seasoned farmers market manager, and you could just like lay out a few tips, like you've shared so much, but just like bring it home. Here, market manager, here's how to make your market more inclusive. This is what I would do, like 1, 2, 6 or something.
Yes. My big thing would be to pinpoint your populations in and around your community and brainstorm ways that you can pull them into your market. People want to come. People are excited to feel a part of something, whether it's being a vendor or just coming to shop, but you've really got to hone in on what you can do to get them down there and make it an awesome experience for them, for families, for old, for young, for people who speak different languages, things like that. You've just got to pinpoint those people and say, what can we do to include all of them down here at this market?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you're really looking at like, what are these accessibility barriers? Like, where are missing pieces? And I think sometimes the biggest step is really just like sitting down and having that awareness and like noticing that, okay, maybe the time isn't accessible. Maybe the location isn't accessible. Maybe we're not offering things in the languages of our community that they need. Maybe we haven't actually built relationships with folks in our community so that they feel like comfortable and excited to be at the market as a vendor or a shopper, you know? So, cool. That's really awesome. How many vendors do you think you'll have this season?
So, I was just telling my husband, I was laughing. Remember last year when we got started, I was hoping for like 5 or 6. I would have been happy with that. The max we got last year was 22. And this year on our opening day on June 4th, I'm slotted for 16 already.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, we're super excited. And we get new people. We have returning and we have new people coming this year. And it's just awesome to see all the people who are excited about coming down and being a part of the event.
That's so cool. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
I'm excited to share this with other market managers. And you said you're at, is it just West Point Farmers Market on Facebook, or like what's all your social media so folks can follow you to get more ideas?
So Instagram and Facebook, we are simply just the West Point Farmers Market. Nothing fancy. And our logo is, I think I have it, the little circle is a bright orange with white lettering, so you can't miss us. So
yeah, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.